In the heart of ancient Greece, during the classical period spanning the 5th to 4th centuries before the Common Era, one city-state stood apart from all others in its treatment of women. While Athens confined its daughters to shadowy households and denied them basic rights, Sparta granted its women freedoms that would not be seen again for thousands of years. Spartan women could own land, inherit property, conduct business transactions, and receive education equal to their brothers. They were not merely tolerated but celebrated, not hidden but honored. In a world where women were considered second-class citizens, Spartan women were said to rule their men. The architect of this revolutionary society was King Lycurgus, who lived around the 9th century before the Common Era. His comprehensive reforms touched every aspect of Spartan life, from currency and land ownership to warfare and dining customs. But perhaps his most radical vision was the principle of equality among all citizens, regardless of gender. Lycurgus understood that a strong society needed strong mothers, and strong mothers could only emerge from a system that valued women as highly as men. His laws would transform Sparta into a place where daughters trained alongside sons, where wives managed estates and finances, and where mothers were revered as the creators of warriors. From the earliest age, Spartan girls embarked on a journey unlike any other in the Greek world. While Athenian girls learned only weaving and household tasks, Spartan daughters joined their brothers in rigorous physical training. They wrestled, ran long and short distances, hurled javelins and discuses, boxed and raced horses. All participants trained naked, their bodies strengthened under the Mediterranean sun. This was not merely exercise, but preparation for their sacred duty as mothers of warriors. The subjugated Helot class handled menial labor like weaving and cooking, freeing Spartan women to focus on education, physical fitness, and the responsibilities of citizenship. Education for Spartan girls extended far beyond physical prowess. They studied music, dance, poetry composition, and the art of lyric verse in the style made famous by the poet Sappho of Lesbos. All-girl choruses formed and competed for prizes at religious festivals, singing songs that celebrated goddesses, honored politicians, or even mocked unmarried men to encourage social responsibility. These maiden songs, known as Parthenaean, were often composed by women themselves, expressing devotion to each other and to divine figures like Artemis. While boys were sent away at age 7 to the Agoge military school, girls remained home under their mother's guidance, receiving an education that prepared them to manage complex estates and make critical decisions. Unlike other Greek city-states where girls might be married as young as 13 or 14, Spartan women continued their education until they reached 18 or 20 years of age. Only then would they consider marriage proposals brokered by their fathers or older brothers. The marriage ritual itself was unique and symbolic. After families agreed to the union, the bride was ceremonially taken to the groom's home, where female attendants shaved her head and dressed her in boys' clothing. She waited in a darkened room until her husband arrived for their wedding night, after which he would return to the barracks where all Spartan men lived communally. It was said that a Spartan husband might father several children before he ever saw his wife in daylight. Throughout her marriage, a Spartan woman kept her hair closely cropped in the same style as male warriors. This practice, along with the unusual wedding ritual, may have eased the transition for men who had known only male companionship until marriage. Yet this was no submissive arrangement. Same-sex relationships were considered natural and acceptable both before and after marriage, for pleasure and personal fulfillment. Women could also take male lovers to ensure the conception of strong, healthy children, the ultimate goal of marriage. What mattered to Sparta was not propriety by the standards of other city-states, but the production of excellent citizens through whatever means proved effective. Motherhood held supreme importance in Spartan society, and women were famously proud of their children. The divine recipient of worship for pregnancy and childbirth was Eileithyia, closely associated with the goddess Artemis, who was often depicted surrounded by devoted young women. Spartan mothers expected their sons to honor the city-state through virtuous behavior and bravery in combat. There are countless stories of mothers telling their sons to return from battle with their shields or upon them, referring to the practice of carrying fallen warriors home on their shields. One mother, Demetria, was even honored for killing her own son who had proven himself a coward. This was the Spartan way, excellence or nothing. With their husbands frequently away at war, Spartan women bore the responsibility of running entire estates. They managed finances, oversaw agricultural operations, conducted business transactions, and made all critical household decisions. These were not token responsibilities, but real power. Unlike Athenian women who served merely as vehicles for transmitting inheritance to male heirs, Spartan women inherited property in their own right. Through strategic relationships and business acumen, many became wealthy landowners controlling multiple properties. When wars claimed their husbands and sons, these widows never faced destitution because they owned the land and knew exactly how to profit from it. Spartan women participated freely in religious festivals and political discussions, their voices carrying weight in community decisions. They dedicated themselves to various cults honoring feminine strength and fertility, including the cult of Artemis Eileithyia and the cult of Cynisca, named after the first woman to win at the Olympic Games by training her own horses. Their attire reflected Spartan values of austerity and equality. They wore the peplos, a simple body-length dress belted at the waist and often drawn up to the knees for ease of movement. Though Lycurgus had initially outlawed luxury items, the law was later amended, allowing women to wear gold and silver jewelry and use cosmetics and perfume, though ostentation remained discouraged. The philosopher Aristotle, who spent most of his adult life in Athens during the 4th century before the Common Era, looked upon Spartan women with deep suspicion. In his work Politics, he argued that their autonomy was responsible for Sparta's eventual decline, claiming that nature intended men to rule over women. Yet history tells a different story. Sparta remained powerful for centuries, feared across the Greek world, and it was not women's freedom that brought about its downfall but military defeat at the hands of a brilliant Theban commander. In 371, before the Common Era, at the Battle of Leuctra, Sparta faced the Theban army led by the brilliant commander Epaminondas and his trusted general Pelopidas. The Theban forces included the legendary Sacred Band, a unit of 150 same-sex male couples fighting with unmatched ferocity and discipline. In a devastating engagement, the Thebans inflicted heavy casualties on the Spartans, killing 400 of their 700 hoplite foot soldiers and their king Cleombrotus. For the first time in memory, the seemingly invincible Spartans had been thoroughly defeated on the field of battle. Greek writers scrambled to explain the unthinkable defeat. Rather than acknowledge the superior tactics of Epaminondas and Pelopidas, they sought other explanations, and many pointed to the autonomy of Spartan women. Aristotle and others claimed that feminine power had weakened the state from within, that women ruling alongside men had somehow corrupted Sparta's martial spirit. Yet this conclusion reveals more about Greek male fear than historical reality. The truth, ignored by ancient critics but clear to modern observers, is that Sparta was strongest when men and women were regarded as equals. The female Spartan, honored as the equal of the male in her sphere of power and authority, was not Sparta's weakness but its greatest strength. The formidable reputation of Spartan warriors rested upon the foundation built by their remarkable mothers, wives, and daughters. The legacy of Spartan women echoes through history as a testament to what becomes possible when society values all its citizens equally. In a world that confined women to shadows, they walked in sunlight. In a culture that silenced female voices, they spoke with authority. They were educated, athletic, financially independent, and politically engaged. They owned property, made decisions, raised warriors, and commanded respect. For a brief, shining moment in ancient history, one society dared to imagine that strength had no gender, that excellence knew no sex, and that true power came from honoring every citizen's potential. The story of Spartan women reminds us that progress is possible, that equality makes societies stronger, and that the fight for women's rights is as ancient as civilization itself. Enjoyed the video? Give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more fascinating stories from history. See you in the next one.